Yes, we will get started. Welcome to the 2021 AIA Homes Tour. We're going to be talking with Brian Dillard from Brian Dillard Architecture, and we're here today to learn about the Exposition residence. We would like to thank our title sponsor, Dalgleish Construction Company, and the underwriter, Kristen Nick, excuse me. I am Michael Bennett. I am an architect here in Austin. I work at Chioco Design. I'm also the treasurer of the newly formed NOMA of Central Texas. And I also helped start the also newly formed LGBTQIA+ Alliance within the AIA. So tell you about Brian. Founded in 2005, Brian Dillard Architecture focuses their practice on modern residential architecture. They draw particular inspiration from site-driven projects and place a high priority on context and respect for the local environment. Their first house was featured in 2006 AIA Homes Tour. Exposition residence will be their fourth home on the AIA Tour. So everyone, we will have a question and answer session at the end, so please put your questions in the Q&A area if you can. Brian, go ahead.
All right. Thanks, Michael. I'm gonna share my screen here. Well, good afternoon, everyone, and thanks for joining us here today. So I'd like to kind of start my talk out with thanking some of the people involved with the tour, AIA Austin and the Homes Tour Committee, my shepherd Shani Clemens, all the hard work that they put in arranging the tour this year. I think it's one of the best ways for Austin architects to connect with the local community of design enthusiasts, and for everyone to see what great work is happening around us here in Austin. Also like to thank our particular underwriting sponsor, Kristen Nick Hardwood Flooring. I've worked with them on multiple projects. They did all the hardwood throughout this house. It's always been a great experience. Also like to thank Tobin Davies, who provided all the photography for the tour, Adam Milius, who provided the 3D walkthroughs for the tour. And special thanks to Mandy Milliken, you see in this photo. She provided the yoga movement and breathing videos for the tour, which I think is a great tie-in to the house. So I think houses are supposed to be places of contemplation and respite. And so I just thought that was a great tie-in, and be sure to check those videos out. And also special thanks to my clients. I know it's invasive to share your house, and I really appreciate their generosity and letting us take over. And then also like to acknowledge the project team for the Exposition residence, structural engineers, Backbeat Structural Design, landscape architect Robert Leeper Landscapes, contractor Messer Design and Construction, and then also have to point out the furnishings and art by the clients have a great eye and great talent for pulling all that together and making the house really look good. So let's see. Today I'm going to be talking about Exposition residence, which is a substantial remodel and addition project. In particular, I'd like to look at some of the unique challenges and benefits of working with an existing structure. So this is the second house I've done with these clients. So we know each other well. I know kind of their design sense and how they live, and so that made for a much more streamlined design process. They had been living in a downtown condo for a few years and were ready to get back into a house with a yard and a pool. And they contacted me. They'd found a potential house on a lot in Tarrytown neighborhood. And if you're not familiar with Austin, it's one of Austin's older central neighborhoods. It has a wide range of architectural styles from 1920s up to modern, so it's pretty eclectic. The house here was built in 1939, so when we started the project, it was about 80 years old. It's a one-story limestone house. You kind of see it's had some clutter and additions to it. So one of the first things I was trying to figure out is exactly what style is the house, because it's really it wasn't obvious to me. So I actually had to look it up, and so I determined the house was a minimal traditional style, which is some people don't even consider a style because it's so simple and plain. This kind of really flourished in the Depression and War era. They're typically modest size, minimal ornament, usually single story with an attic space, low or moderate roof slope, minimal eaves and overhangs, and usually the chimney is either absent or not prominent. So that's kind of where we are, except for in our case, we have a little more regional flair with the limestone native to Texas. So the existing house was 2-bedroom, 2-bath. It's about 1,700 square feet. But I think originally it was probably closer to 1,400 square feet. The sunroom was an enclosed porch, and the master bath was an 80s addition. So sometime in the 80s, the rear porch was closed in, kind of creating this sort of odd room with half stone, half drywall, tile floor, and kind of weird skylights. And then this wood deck projecting in the back. You can kind of see kind of how big a level change there is between the house and the backyard at that point. And then the master bath was a kind of a 1980s over the top kind of fantasy here with a glass block shower and sunken tub. And then in the backyard, there was a existing garage structure. It had a 1-bay garage and a storage room, not in the best of shape, kind of back here. The lot itself was pretty large, but it was had a deceptive slope to it. I think there was about a 13-foot drop from the street back to the rear of the lot. The trees were mainly on the perimeter, except for we had one large heritage oak in the front. And then kind of going back, we also had a 75-foot front yard setback. So the oak was well out of the reach of the house and where you could build. And we began kind of looking at the general shape of the house when we started to go and evaluate to see if this was an appropriate house, to do a addition remodel on. And we found, like, in general, the house was in pretty good condition. The closer we looked at the stone, the more we saw a lot of repair work and repointing. But in general, I think the house physically looked like it was in good shape. They didn't look like any major structural issues. It looked like an 80-year-old house. There was, some slight water damage and issues like this. So then we wanted to look at general quality of construction, and to see if it merited, saving the house. I think in general we liked the simplicity and understatement of the house. We liked the stonework and the uniqueness of some of the materials that couldn't really be replicated easily with modern construction. And then the other issue that you kind of always want to look at is, is the house significant enough to to rise to the level of more of a historic renovation or more faithful renovation. We didn't feel like that this house kind of met that, or that there was enough kind of original material to lend itself to that. So we thought the house was more lent itself more to a looser renovation remodel, where we kind of kept what we wanted and could take out what we didn't. The next thing we wanted to look at was how compatible the existing layout and house was to the client's needs, and to kind of what degree we would want to make changes to it. Because if you get to the point where nothing works or you're changing everything, then it kind of makes no sense to keep what's there. So in general, I think the layout of the house was good and appropriate for the clients. We have the side entry here at the kitchen, and then we have the living spaces in the middle with kind of windows to the front, windows to the back, and then you have the private kind of bedroom wing to the side. The one issue that we found that we didn't like was the spaces themselves were cut off from each other. So the kitchen only had a very small, a really small entry between the kitchen and the dining. The dining had the kind of archway to the living, and then the living to the sunroom had these kind of old doorways. So the spaces themselves were very discreet, made the house kind of feel dark and a little cramped and cut up. The front entry had some ductwork that was added here that kind of cut that off, and in general, the bedrooms were a little bit of a jumble, with added closets and some remodel work. So the kitchen, was small, but we thought in general that when you consider the dining space as part of the kitchen, that would be ample for the clients. Here's an example of kind of just like the degree of separation between spaces with the fur downs and the arches. And here's looking from the living room into the enclosed sunroom. Here's kind of the entry with the fur downs and the kind of the accumulation of these little, additions over time. And then the bedrooms, we have these tiny closets, and then the bathroom had kind of an awkward layout, floating toilet. Then the other bathroom was extremely cramped. We had the 1940s, 50s pink tile. And then in general, all the spaces didn't have a very good connection to the front yard or the backyard. We have these kind of smaller windows. So kind of after we looked at everything, we thought that if we took off the additions, took off the master bathroom addition, and took off the sunroom addition, that we could come in, we could leave most of the existing residents in place, and then come in with a new solution that would satisfy the client's needs. So we ended up gutting the existing residence, and then fortunately the attic space of the existing house provided a great opportunity to update all of the MEP systems of the house. We ended up, actually, the attic was originally vented. You can see one of the vents there, but we ended up, it allowed us to insulate the entire attic, and then we could run the ductwork and all the plumbing and new electrical through the attic. within the conditioned area of the space, and provide an easy access to all those systems. In the rear, we were able to take off the stone from the existing house and salvage as much as we could of that to use in new construction. And then kind of strip this off. This allowed us to replace the existing windows with nail fin installation and kind of re-waterproof the house. And then one of the biggest issues during construction were foundation issues. Tarrytown is particularly kind of known for shrink swell soil, and so all the new construction was done on piers and slab and void form. So this is actually the pool. The pool is on a slab, and so it's kind of floating structurally. And then with the existing house, since that isn't on as robust a foundation, we carefully managed water, added gutters to the house, and diverted water away from that to keep the moisture content of the soil at the house as stable as possible, so that we could minimize any movement that the house was experiencing. Here's the pad for the pool before we started there. So here is the existing house as it is. And then here is the solution that we came up with. So you can kind of, if we go kind of back and forth. You can see the additions here. So basically we ended up saving the garage structure because it was partially built into the setback and kind of allowed us to have the garage a little more out of the way for the backyard. And we got rid of the storage area and made a more standard two-car garage there. The clients didn't mind the separation between the garage and the house, but their one concern was they wanted a way to get from the garage to the house with being in a fenced-in area for the dogs. So we have a little kind of pedestrian entrance here that comes out of the garage that goes into the back of the house. We removed the Florida room and came back with a larger living space here, and this also steps down from the main residence and connects a little better with the grade levels of the backyard. In general, the main part of the house, we opened up all of the rooms to each other as much as possible to kind of bring some light and connection between, and then kind of really reconfigured the master suite. We were able to fit a powder room kind of in here, but kind of creating like one entry for the private area of the house, instead of having the bedrooms off of two separate doors. Then the clients wanted a third bedroom, and originally we looked at putting that with the house, but we decided what would be a better solution for this project would be to create a separate little guest cabana. And this way, it kind of serves a lot of different functions without adding a lot of square footage. So the cabana has a little bed nook, it has a living area, it has a little desk nook, which has, I think, been very handy with COVID, with everyone working from home. So you can kind of get out of the house, go to your office. Also has a bathroom that can, serves as for the guest bedroom, but also serves the pool. So you don't have to come all the way into the house to the powder room. And also has a little kitchenette here, with the sink and a little fridge that can also kind of serve the pool there. And then in effect, we're kind of creating a large sort of outdoor living room for the house. So the house itself, I think we removed 350 square feet. We added back in 900 square feet. And so the main house is 2,300 square feet. The cabana is about 500 square feet. So it's still a pretty modest size altogether, but I think the house with the connection to the yard and kind of creating this outdoor room makes the house live like a bigger house. So here's the original front, and then here it is after the remodel. So I think one of our goals was to really preserve kind of the street presence of the house and to not modify that too much. We replaced all the doors and windows with new aluminum clad wood in the existing house to kind of keep some of the traditional feel. We did simplify the windows. We have larger mullions, kind of maybe see a little better in this image. Kind of play a little bit with the scale, make it a little more modern and clean. But also this is also for energy efficiency and maintenance with the aluminum clad on the outside. You know, the original windows were not insulated and kind of just not in good shape. The other thing we did, we resurfaced the roof with the standing seam, which will then appear again in the backyard as siding for the addition. We also cut in this large steel bay window at the front, so we can let in some light, and then also kind of helps a little bit with making the space feel more open with the lower ceilings in the original house. Then at the front door, we ended up widening the door, but keeping it pretty straightforward and simple. And then we wanted to kind of clean up this front entry, but because the house is so simple, we tried a lot of different schemes for the front stoop, but it ended up with this minimal traditional style of the house. Like, the more detail we put into it, the more out of place it felt. So we wanted to keep this as simple and minimal as possible. And so the whole minimal traditional style actually worked really well with modern addition as far as I thought, just because it doesn't have a really strong personality. It's really kind of subdued, and so kind of I think it blends well with the addition. We did keep another note. You know, these vents are no longer vents, but we wanted to keep them for the scale and the detail. So those are left in place. So here's the new front door. So still modest, but we made it a little wider, to give it a little more presence, but wanted to keep it in the scale, and spirit of the house. Then when you enter the door, we pushed the entry wall a little back to kind of create a little moment there at the entry. It's not really a defined space because we don't have the room, but it kind of just creates a little bit of a sequence there. And then we replaced the hardware with this Frank Allard polished nickel. So it's very simple, but just this great tactile quality to it, and just kind of, I think, fits the house. It's kind of a little modern, a little traditional at the same time. Then this is the original looking out to the front yard from the living room. And this is the new bay window that we added. So kind of goes almost floor to ceiling, but it really kind of brings in this really deep front yard that we have. And we with the landscape, we added this hedge at the front. There's also a wall, so provides a lot of privacy. So even with this big window, you feel like you're kind of looking into a courtyard. Here's another image. So it kind of really kind of lightens the whole room. I think the ceilings are 8.2, so it's a pretty low ceilings for what modern audiences expect. So I think that kind of helped a little bit with alleviating some of that crampedness. And then here you can kind of see the effect of opening up some of these spaces to each other. So this is kind of the formal living space. And now it's very open to the dining space. We eliminated, any obstructions of the ceiling. So everything is, kind of flows from space to space. And then you can get a little peek into the kitchen here. We've widened that entry, replaced the old kind of wood kitchen door with the glass and steel door there. So that's very open as well. And this is kind of looking into the dining room. Dining room kind of is still sort of the same formal space it was, just much more open to the other rooms around it. So here's kind of the dining, showing kind of how it's now part of the kitchen and part of the living space. Look, the dining, kind of looking into the kitchens. The kitchen itself is, is pretty small footprint, but if you consider, the dining is the eating area of the kitchen, I think it's actually a pretty generous space visually. And I think this is actually one of the biggest kind of transformations of the house. The original kitchen had this kind of awkward peninsula. It had a little pantry closet built in here, and the kind of a lot of starts and stops to the cabinetry, with the uppers and lowers, and the way the appliances were integrated. And then also you can note the linoleum floor versus maybe it was tile, but there was a change in material at the kitchen, so it didn't really flow. And then this is the final product. So still the same footprint, same layout, same windows, but we just wanted to simplify things as much as possible. The island gives a little space for a couple of stools there, but instead of having a lot of upper lower cabinets, we just have one big cabinet wall with the fridge and appliances, and then have just one contiguous counter here for the around the cooktop, and then went with the wall oven and cooktop, so that we didn't really break the space up with a big sliding range. So we kind of get as much continuous surfaces as possible to kind of really light the space. And then the other kind of thing I think that really improved it is we ran the same hardwood floor throughout. This is Chrisnick, again, that provided that, but kind of keeping the materials kind of consistent through the different spaces. Same with keeping the ceiling plane clean and uninterrupted. I think really kind of helps create that sort of connection of the house. So when you're in the kitchen, you don't feel like you're isolated from the rest of the space. Similarly, we wanted to really increase this connection between the formal living space and the informal living space that will project out to the backyard. So you see now that they originally, that the two spaces were at the same level. These were probably, the just original doorways onto the porch, and then kind of had this extra wall built up around the fireplace. And then also just note that there's this little raised hearth that kind of creates like just another kind of additional element. So we kept the fireplace volume, but we completely opened up the walls around it, and kind of, so now instead of reading as a kind of fireplace on a wall, it's just kind of one floating volume. And we even added this little reveal at the top to kind of just emphasize that this is the fireplace volume, and kind of differentiate it a little bit from the other walls. And then just kind of keeping it very elemental and simple. We just have a very simple kind of steel surround, and then a steel hearth that's flush with the floor there. And then so you get a nice peek into the formal living and the backyard and the windows below, as well as you can see the dining space beyond. Here's just another view there. So whereas before there really was no transparency through the house, now I think a lot of places you can see the front yard and the backyard, which I think is a nice, it gives it a nice feeling. Then this is down in the formal living space. So part of the issue with the original house was the backyard. Once you were out on the deck, you were 5 feet above grade there. Just really had no connection. You had to walk down another flight of stairs to get to the backyard. So what we wanted to do is kind of split up that grade change. So we come down 2 feet into the informal living room, which is where the TV and kind of a little more of a hangout space. This also keeping the ceiling contiguous from the original house into the new, kind of helps kind of with the flow, but also it allows us to have one space with a 10-foot ceiling. So you kind of have a little bit of a relief from the lower ceilings of the original house. Just another view. So you can see, once again, you can see the transparencies through to the front. And then just keeping the same wood flooring kind of going throughout, continuous ceiling with no kind of interruptions. And then looking the other way, then here's kind of the big payoff is you end up with all glass, kind of much closer to the pool level. So you really feel like you're part of this backyard courtyard. And then these the windows, I think, provide a pretty substantial opening. So when the weather is good, you can really feel like you're part of that space. And then here is from the backyard looking in. So we have the first flight of stairs here. We come down 2 feet, and then we come down another 2 feet once you're outside with these kind of shallower stairs there. And then looking back toward the bedroom wing of the house. So we wanted to kind of have a little bit of privacy, kind of to delineate the bedrooms from the rest of the house. So we did kind of keep a little smaller opening there, but you can see kind of directly back, you can see the powder room here, kind of as a focal point when you look down the hallway. That's kind of the hallway into there. So you kind of going from public to private. Powder room was kind of a fun little space. And kind of it's a good place to maybe talk about some of the materials in the house and some of the tie-ins between spaces. We ended up doing a board and batten detail in the powder room for like paneling on all 4 walls. This detail kind of shows up again in the informal living room as the oak paneling at the TV wall. It'll also show up again in the cabana as the paneling on the back wall. So we kind of repeat this element throughout the house, just in a slightly different way. And because we're mixing old with new and trying to, we've already got sort of a mix of things. We wanted to keep materials kind of consistent and have tie-ins between the different elements of the house. So, so for instance, this gloss paint color is the same paint as we used on the front door. And then the sink itself is cut from a solid block of Colorado marble, which we sourced here. And the nice thing about that is we were able to use the same block of marble for all of our bathroom counters, all of our bathroom floors, and kind of have this kind of consistent element run throughout. And it's often hard to match a slab with tile, so this was a great opportunity to have them match perfectly throughout. So anyway, here's the one of the slabs that the materials came from. And then here is entering the master suite, the master bath. You can see, so we have the same tile on the floor, same tile, same stone on the counter. The tile for the master bath walls we actually use as the pool tile. So we kind of have a little tie in there. And then the space itself, kind of like the rest of the house, is not overly grand. It's pretty efficient in the way that we used it. But what makes it special is we have this outdoor shower with a sliding door at the end. So we're borrowing exterior space for the bathroom. So it kind of creates a little special moment there. This was I think before the freeze got the bamboo. And then the master closet, also not a really generous space, but efficient. And then we made this a little more special by cutting this slit window, so you have a view back to the backyard and the pool. And then the master bedroom was a larger space than it was, allowing kind of for like a seating area as well as the bed area. And then this was the original master bedroom, how you looked at the backyard. So I think the biggest difference is having this complete window wall that now overlooks the pool courtyard. So it kind of really just makes the space feel special, as before it just kind of felt a little forgotten. And then looking at the backyard, you can kind of see this is the master bedroom there, with the closet window right there. But we sort of subdivided the backyard and kind of into two levels. So there's this upper level here with the house, and then we step down 2 feet to the pool and cabana level there. And so here for siding, we use the same standing seam that we had on the front roof. So we kind of keep that element throughout. And then here, which was once the garage, we kept the slab of the garage, which was actually in really good shape. We kept the walls, and then we reinforced them and reclad them with the same material as the house. We actually cut off the gable roof to kind of minimize the mass and presence of the overall structure, so it didn't overpower the living room of the house. But then we added this covered dining area to kind of anchor that side of the pool courtyard. Then if you can see up here, this is a little kind of just small outdoor kitchen there at that upper level. Just another view. So the way that the garage is detailed when you're in the in the house looking out, or if you're in the pool courtyard. It reads more as like as a wall and not as a structure, so it kind of really hides the appearance. Here's just a closer look at the barbecue area. So here's before picture. You can see the garage structure there with the gable roof. You can see the big drop at the back of the deck, and you can see kind of how, you know, kind of small the master windows were there. And then this is the back of the dining there. And then here is the solution. You see so we have the garage, but we've removed the gable, clad it with the same standing seam, kind of similar to we did in the master closet. We added a little slit window, which kind of makes a cool view from within the garage. And then we have sort of split up the level changes from the house to the pool deck, and then from the pool deck we have these steel terraces planted with zoysia, and we ended up letting that grow on the steps, so it kind of makes this big kind of furry carpet there before you land onto the lawn.
Hey, Brian, just letting you know it's 1:42.
All
and
right.
we do have a couple of questions, so you can keep going, but.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Michael. Then this is looking back at the house from the covered area, and you can see so here's the cabana. Sorry. So the cabana sort of makes the third wall of the pool courtyard. We were able to salvage a lot of the stone from the back of the house. I think we did have to mix it with some new, but it has some of that older cut stone. So the cabana, we ended up bringing in an element of the existing house to the backyard, so kind of helping balance a little bit of this kind of more the plain simple kind of flat roof modern with the gable of the existing house. So the actual volume of the cabana almost matches perfectly the volume of the dining and kitchen space with the same gable and same stone. So it kind of helps to balance out, bring some of that traditional element to the back in a modern way. And here's kind of looking across to the cabana from the covered dining area. And the door system for the cabana can go into a pocket, so it's a nice way of just kind of having another covered space outside, and then just kind of really having when the weather's nice, you can kind of close that. I mean, open this up and have just kind of an outdoor living space. Inside the cabana, we really tried to kind of make it do as many things as possible. So we have the bed nook, a little living room. Here is the board and batten detail again that we saw inside. Same wood floors as the house. The cabana actually has a vaulted ceiling as opposed to the house, so you get a little different experience there. And here's the little office nook. Cabana bathroom, you can see the same stone slab and stone tile again that was in the main house. We have a different tile here that matches the other bathroom in the house. And then there's a little wet bar with a sink and fridge, closet in case you have guests that stay. And and then here is the kind of looking back at the front after seeing the back. So
You ready for some questions? You have some more.
Yeah. Let me so just real kind of just to kind of wrap up. So kind of looking back at the project, you know, and thinking about keeping a portion of existing an existing house as part of the solution. I think in this case, it made for a unique kind of solution. Kind of gives the house like a personality of its own. Gives the house kind of a story over time, which I like. And so I think we hopefully retain the charm and lack of pretension of the original house, and kind of created something that adds to the neighborhood rather than subtracts. And I think just thinking about the speed of change that's happening in Austin right now with all the demolitions and new construction, I think it's really important that architects as stewards of our neighborhoods is to if we are changing something, is changing things for the better and not just kind of changing changing things in a way that changes the overall feel of the neighborhood and what makes these neighborhoods kind of unique and desirable to begin with. So that's it.
Wish more people felt that way. I agree. So, all right. So a lot of these questions seem to be about materials that you've used and such, but let's see, there's two of these that are kind of the same thing. So the sink, where did you source that, and then who fabricated it?
The sink, so all that marble was sourced through Decorum.
Okay.
And so they fabricated the sink, cut all the tile, you know, to measure, and did all the stone counters in the bathrooms.
Definitely not written it down. See here, the next one was, oh, then what company did you use for the windows and doors?
Windows and doors, manufacturer, I think they were supplied by BMC. Manufactured the aluminum doors and windows are Western, and then the replacement windows in the house, the more traditional ones. Oh, trying to think of.
People have your contact; they can ask again.
Yeah, they can do my. I'll remember it in a minute. But.
Of course, as soon as we're done, I'm sure you'll remember. So let's see. This one's kind of a long question. Can see if I can distill it a little. Did you go, whenever you were talking about renovating versus new construction, did you consider sustainability in that? Was it just cost, or how did you think about the cost? Was it more about the structure or something else?
Well, I think sustainability kind of goes into it to a point, because you're not putting things back into the landfill, and you're having a little smaller footprint. You know, it was such a major renovation, you know, in the end. What I tell clients typically is your decision to keep an existing structure can't solely be based on the money that you think you might save, because you might discover during demo that what you thought you were going to save, you're not going to save. So I think you have to kind of set expectations, that, you know, in this case, I think we eliminated some demo, although selective demo can be more expensive because you're not just coming in with a bulldozer and taking it out. You're having more labor and having to do it more carefully. And you're also having to protect protect what you're leaving throughout the project. So that can actually add some cost. But we maybe saved on excavation, foundation, framing, stone material. So there's some elements, but in the end, it really can't be about the cost savings necessarily, or it can't be solely about the cost savings, I think.
Well, so is there any surprises that came about during demo?
Yeah, I think the biggest one, I think originally we were trying to keep the stone throughout the house in place, and probably even more the fireplace. But once we got into demo, it just looked like the stone was kind of really pulling away from the walls. And so we made the decision to carefully take the stone down, save it all, and then properly reinforce the foundation for the stone, and then put it back. And so that was probably the biggest surprise. But it did allow us to better wrap the building with more modern materials. It allowed us to reinstall the windows with fin installation, which will be better long term. And so we kind of know that we'll have a better built product there at the end, and your stone's not going to start falling off when we're done.
I realized on the back you did that all the way around.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. It's great for them. Let's see. Were the Corten basins used on the rear landscape on the edge of the concrete elements added after the concrete was formed? Or were they the formwork?
I think they used it as formwork, and they
got it. All right, let's see. Is that outdoor shower freeze proof?
I think you can drain it.
Okay.
So it lasted through the freeze, which I think the water heater did not.
Let's see. Is the standing seam zinc or a pre-finished paint color?
It
and
is.
They said nice color choice.
It's pre-finished. It's a Kynar paint. I think it's one of the cool roof colors. So, yeah, precision roofing did all the siding and roofing, and did a really good job. But always metal siding always makes me anxious, because it can be done really well, and it can be done it could look really cheap really fast. And so they were really good with the install. Took a lot of work to get all the coursing just right, so that the windows fit in between the ribs and all that sort of thing. So it's a modest material that takes a lot of work to make it look
elevated.
Great.
Yeah.
So.
What is the overall construction cost? Did the cost go up any due to the rise in materials?
We were done before all of that, so
yeah.
We didn't really have to look at that. And I think I don't. I can't say off the top of my head what the overall cost was, but I think we were pretty close to the budget. I think the contractor had foreseen the issues with the stone more so. I think maybe I just had wishful thinking of wanting to keep it, to not have to take it down. So I think he had actually put that into his budget. So that wasn't quite the cost surprise for the clients. I think it was just
great.
Yeah. So yeah, so good for them for thinking ahead there.
Was impervious coverage or FAR an issue for you? And I love the project.
No, actually, because the lot was just typical Terrytown lots are so tight, especially trying to build the size of houses people want to build. This, because the pool doesn't count to impervious, and we've got such a big lawn that we didn't really have any real issues with that. And since it's one story, we didn't have any McMansion issues. So it all kind of, there was no, I think the generous size of the lot kind of helped us a lot with all those things.
This one isn't a question, but I'll tell you anyway. I drive by this every day and it's absolutely beautiful. I love the pony wall and everything you've done.
Thank you.
You know, you should hear some of the accolades too, right? Let's see. I want to ask you this one. What is your favorite aspect of the project?
I think it's just really the space, the courtyard space in the back. I really love kind of outdoor rooms. I think are always my favorite parts of projects. And so I think it's just a pleasant place to hang out.
Let me see if there's any I missed. I'm just skimmed to the top. Pretty much got through these. I apologize here. You got construction costs. I feel like there was one I missed. Oh, is there any concern with the large windows facing the pool from the point of water mitigation and glare from low winter sun?
No, the big windows are facing east. So you get, when the sun's low, I think the trees in the back kind of block it. So by the time the sun is overhead, that's not really an issue. And then the cabana windows are facing north. Mm-hmm. So those are pretty good for that. And the clients, I think, specifically didn't want overhangs on the living room. They wanted as much light as they could get in there. And luckily, since we're not facing west, the front front bay window actually faces west, but it's filtered through so many trees that's not really an issue there either.
In the pool area, is that gray or buff louvers?
It is gray louvers, and then the rest is just concrete. I think we did a washed concrete finish on the pads.
All right, and then I think you already answered the new large front window. They're asking if it's custom built.
Yes, we had the front window and then the side door to the kitchen were both custom built steel.
I think. Oh, did the clients need much convincing with the front room ceiling height? I love low ceilings on these homes, but it's always a bit of a struggle.
No, they actually. I'm the same way. I'm not a huge fan of really tall ceilings. And so they were on board. They've lived in some older kind of old Austin houses. So I think they've had some houses, with some lower ceilings, and it really just, it matched the personality of the house. And I think if we had the conversation about maybe vaulting like the living room, the formal living room ceiling, but kind of felt like then you're really not saving anything because you're ripping the roof, off of the off of that portion of the house. And I think part of what I like is the contrast between this kind of cottage portion of the house with the low ceiling, and then kind of just evolving into this larger kind of more modern portion of the back. I don't think you'd appreciate it the same way as if the other part had a big ceiling too. So I think it kind of plays off each other.
I like how they run together and then it just turns into a high ceiling. Really nice. Well, I think that's all the question. Oh, and we are right at 2 o'clock.
Oh, perfect. Very good. Well, thank you so much, Michael, and thanks everybody for attending and sharing this project with me.